here with us tonight, logging in from all across the world here on Facebook, YouTube, and the like. We want to welcome you to the Stars Championship Series Pro Division. It is the 5th round of the championship here this evening, and we are very excited to have you guys with us. We've got quite a few drivers here, and for the very first time this season, a number of new names in the field, I believe, have almost outnumbered those who we typically recognize. As warm-up comes to a close here this evening, we are very, again, excited to get this show on the road. My name is Xander Clements, the official voice of the Stars Championship Series Pro Division and Junior Division, and I am very excited to have you guys along board here for the ride this evening. We are 1 week away from crowning a champion here, and tonight it's time to get started. Qualifying rolling away here at Sebring International Raceway for the 5th round of the Stars Championship Series. We're going to take a ride on board with a couple drivers here this evening and give you an idea of what there is to expect from this racetrack. Our junior stars have already visited the Sebring International Raceway, so we see one of the top contenders, David Holland, going for a spin there. That time by, we'll move on around here and continue to work our way around the racetrack. We want to encourage all of you guys here to continue to share this live stream here as you see it. We are very excited to have all the viewers that we currently do and want to continue to expand the audience. So give us any feedback that you have. Hit that share, like, and comment button. We're live for the very first time tonight on YouTube.com as well as Facebook. We've been uploading a couple of our content over to YouTube. We've gotten, of course, the first couple rounds with some race remixes as well. So we've got some really cool content on YouTube. We uploaded those to our Facebook pages with the NKA and the Stars Championship Series also, as again, we're just switching around here early with a number of drivers getting underway and qualifying. Well, we've got the content on 2 platforms for the first time here this evening. The NKA and Stars Championship Series combo platform just continues to expand, and a huge part of that, and a huge thank you to all that, is to everyone who has tuned in every single week, who has hit that reminder button on all of our live streams, who has commented, who has liked, who has shared, who has followed this championship series from its beginning with our invitational NKA race back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Thank you to all of you. We've already got a ton of viewers here so far to start tonight, and we can't wait here to get started. So, looking ahead here, a couple drivers. One driver that's new here this evening is Ryan Rudolph in the number 14. He was one of the newest drivers in the championship as well, as we go from one of the newest to one of our championship contenders. Here's Jake Donald working his way down the long back straightaway here at Sebring. This is going to be a very key section of the racetrack as we work later on into the evening. That long straightaway going into this final corner, and then a good drafting zone as well to pass down turn number 1. Jake Donald led the championship for the opening few rounds this season, but he got into an incident with that driver right ahead of him, Adam Rylance. The two of them ended up having issues at Road America, just ended up coming together. It was Rylance's mistake, and he admitted to it. It was unfortunate, but it took both drivers out of a podium finish and gave the win to Donald's teammate, Shinya Machimi. Now, Jake Donald, with a good run that week, was still able to salvage a top 10 finish, but he gave up some valuable points. As we look now to one of our other newcomers, Devin Smith-Harden, the HMG-powered number 28 entry. We'll go around the racetrack and talk about some of the other names we've got here. As qualifying is just getting started at Sebring. Here's Tyler Gilbo, one of the guys who make the DRT North America race team work. So a huge thank you to Tyler for coming and joining. He's a huge impact in the sport, and he's been making a number of start attempts here tonight. We got one question here from Sarah Deanna. How are the points looking like? I'll actually pull those up for you when we go to commercial break to have some more talking points. We've got Jake Donald, Carl Modoff, Shinya Machimi, and a few more that are all kind of roughly within it. One thing to keep in mind here, every driver is going to get 1 drop round this season, so it is best 5 out of 6. In the case of like David Holland, Carl Modoff, and Daniel Modelon, Dario Cangialosi, they all had a bad round at Road Atlanta, for example, round number 3 with a crash. So that would be their drop round. They really can't afford to lose much. Actually, in the Facebook chat here, here's our Delta Sport team. They've linked the point standings as well, so you can take a look at that. But that's just kind of a rough estimate. So keep in mind with those point standings, you have to take out the lowest score of a driver at the moment, because only their best 3 out of 4 finishes currently are really counting. Now, if they get a lower score tonight, of course, or if they get a lower score next week at our championship week, the final round, that would change things as well, and then they would have to count the all 4 scores to start the season. So again, at the end of 6 rounds, it is your best 5 that will count towards your championship. So even if you have a personal conflict that takes you out of the series, you're able to continue to compete for the title. And there is a whole lot on the line. Of course, the biggest thing here to keep in mind with the championship is that you have a test day with the Formula 4 race and Formula 4 and Formula R, I should say, FR, America's Race Team Velocity Racing Development. They are our presenting sponsor, so that is a multi-$1,000 test day they've thrown up to the champion of this series, as we watch Austin Osborne here coming out of the hairpin. But there's also a number of other prizes. I believe we have 3 sim racing cockpits donated from Extreme Sim Racing, prizes from Miami East, Max Pappas Innovations, the MPI steering wheels. They've donated some sim wheels and some real-life wheels. Minus 273, I believe, has donated some coaching online with Chris Wareheim. I mean, there's just partners galore. So there's a lot of championship prizes, and this will go to the top 5 of both our pro and junior divisions. So cool stuff for all of them. And speaking of championship contenders, I want to move around to one guy in particular, and that is Karl Modoff. He has just jumped up to 2nd place on the boards here, right behind this man, Elliot Budzinski. Before we get to Karl, Elliot Budzinski is making his series debut this week. Didn't even attempt to qualify for the first 4 rounds. He's a longtime go-karter, actually competed in the inaugural season of the Stars Championship Karting Series off the sim. So really cool to see Elliot joining us. He's one of the few drivers who were able to take advantage of that opening season with the Stars Championship Series, a karting series based in the Midwest, formerly known as the SCUSA Great Lakes Pro Kart Challenge. Rebranded now with the Stars Championship branding, the same as what we've got here for our Esports Championship. Elliot was in contention for the X30 Senior title, and he's also raced a ton of different karting series across the United States as well. So he was at the top. We have a correction now, because you can see he's just dropped down to 2nd. Your new driver at the top of the boards, and your winner from last week at Road America, it's Shinya Machimi in the number 69 entry, the Ronin Sim Sport entry. His teammate Jake Donald right now is down the order in 13th. But Machimi, last time by, just went to the top. Let's see if we can ride on board with our provisional pole sitter as he tries to lay down another hot lap while he now sits himself on the hot seat. Find ourselves here in the beginning half of crunch time. Those lap times, everybody, are starting to drop. Machimi has just been bumped down to 5th. Elliot Budzinski went to the top for a moment, but he was passed by a number of cars. Here's Carlos Plaza, one of the Kart Sport North America entries. He's 16th. Jake Donald, Machimi's teammate, bumped him as well by a couple thousandths. He's up to 4th, so a good run here for that driver. Adam Rylance is 6th. Behind him, there's Devin Smith-Harden. Here's Gresham Wagner. He has not turned a lap yet, trying to rebound from a very rough week at Road America after a couple of consistent weekends that had him inside the top 5. And here's the Delta Sport lead driver for the Delta Sport fam tuning in, Carl Modoff, who has had a huge following here that has watched along here all season long. He is P2 at the moment here. And again, a rough run at Road Atlanta and a rough run, unfortunately, at Road America after he tangled with his teammate with a little bit of netcode lag. But Carl, he came away with the win at round 2 at the Glen, was a podium finisher at round 1 at Sonoma. And as he is on the screen here, it looks like he's warming those tires. He's going to give it another go the next time by. I don't believe he's on a quick lap at the moment. Might have had to fight his way through some traffic. Let's go a little further back, see if we can't find some more drivers here tonight. Here's Adam Kreppen, one of the Midwestern-based karting drivers, a long-time go-kart racer. And Adam, he's probably one of the veterans in terms of running a couple inches off the ground here in the field. Behind him, there's Alan Michelle, another veteran as well. I believe him and Adam probably the two of them combined age is about equal to that of everybody else on the grid. We have a lot of young talent here. It's cool to see some of these guys racing. There's one driver in particular, Rod Clenard, who's been very fast. He's 15th, and he is also one of the older drivers on the grid. He regularly competes in the Masters classes when we race on the kart track. There's Ryan Rudolph again. Here's Brendan Baker in the Crosslink competition entry. He's running just ahead of the Red Bull of Bryce Stevens, who is one of the younger drivers there. He spun around, and now your new provisional pole sitter, David Holland, is leading the way here in the blacked out number 18 machine this week. He'll work his way down towards the hairpin, and right now that lap time is holding station. Your top 5 haven't changed too much. Gresham Wagner jumped into that 7th spot. Again here, just to give a shout out to everyone here, whichever platform you prefer. We're live on the NKA YouTube channel. If you want to look it up, if you're not already subscribed, you can search it. It's the same title as what we've got on Facebook here, NKA Stars Championship Series Pro Category Round 5. You put that in your YouTube search bar. You can find it on YouTube. You can stream it on your big TV. Or if you want to stay on Facebook here, we've got live chat on both. And we'll keep giving shout outs on both here. We got a lot of guys here who have love to show their support in the comment section for those drivers, and I love giving them the credit as well for those drivers. I know that they appreciate it also. Shinya Mashimi has gone back to the top of the boards here over David Holland, so he's moved up from the 5th place to the top. Moving further back, there's Michelle again. Here's Daniel Modalon in 14th right now. Another driver who has been relatively quick here this season. He was very fast in the opening couple rounds, had a good run at Watkins Glen, unfortunately ended in the barriers. And then last week was decent, just really wasn't where he needed to be to fight for wins. Elliot Budzinski's now been bumped back to the 6th spot as everyone has gotten faster. Gresham Wagner just went to 3rd. Adam Rylance just went to the top. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at those times right now. If they stand, we've got 7 thousandths of a second between 3rd to 1st. Tonight could be very exciting, and one driver that should be exciting to watch is Rowan Gill in the 774. He's not only the 2nd ever Junior Stars driver to make the field in Pro Championship Series competition, but he is inside the top 10 right now. Rowan Gill is one of the Mike Doty Racing junior drivers in the karting world off the sim. He's got a lot of sim experience here. He was competing in a number of karting sim races as well as iRacing events. And Rowan, one of the kids from the Northeast who has been so fast in the karting world in terms of making that jump from the local to regional to national level. He's been very quick on accelerating that learning curve, and he's done the same here on iRacing. And Rowan, again, 9th place, which is nothing to hold his head about right now with how competitive this series has been here this year. Devin Smith-Harden's moved up from the mid-20s to 18th here as of last time by. He's just off your screen at the moment as we got the top 15 on our ticker. Brendan Baker has moved up a couple spots. He's 13th right now, 6.5 tenths off the pace of Adam Rylance. Here's Tyler Krenek, another driver here who is making his debut in the broadcasted main. He's had a couple runs here to get up to speed, and he's 32nd right now as we've got a couple extra drivers who have made it in. Here's David Kalb Jr. He's running the comp cart livery, and he works his way through the middle section at Sebring on the far side of the racetrack. Just got bumped out of the top 15 there, and we've got more changes at the top of the boards. We'll try and find some of those fast drivers. Gresham Wagner has gone up there, and Andrew Bajoso, who has been almost absent here from this top 10 to begin qualifying, has just worked his way forward. So we'll keep going back. Here's Byron Daly, one of the former iRacing NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, now eNASCAR Coca-Cola Series drivers. Will Salisbury right now 13th. There's Race Liberante, the second Delta Sport entry. To Carl Modoff here entered tonight. He is 22nd at the moment, a little bit further back than where he'd like to be. Here's Adam Rylance again in the Richard Mill Burrell Art livery, and he is in a dead tie on the sim to Andrew Bajoso. Again, look at that. Shinya Mashimi has also knocked it down and kept it there in fourth. I believe that was his earlier lap time as well. So a good run here for Mashimi as we watch Adam Rylance work his way around the racetrack, and the checkered flag is flying. And for the very first time, Gresham Wagner sees himself on top of the boards here. Everyone is on their final laps. We'll see if the kid from Virginia, the Global MX5 Cup Series driver, former national level karting pilot with Kart Sport North America, who has already, again, been a contender inside the top 5, ended up with a podium at Road Atlanta before that spin on the first lap at Road America took him out of contention. He was looking very good for the championship. Now he's burned what should be his drop round. He needs to be absolutely perfect here to hold on to a fight for the championship come next week for the season finale. But he's looking pretty good to start the night. P1 right now. We watch him go down the backstretch into the final corner. And Gresham Wagner in the 555 red, black, and white entry here for Super Sport Racing on iRacing.com, and formerly representing Kart Sport North America off the sim, will come across the line. No improvement that time for Wagner, but it is going to be enough here to hold over the quickest drivers so far. Adam Rylance improved slightly to go to second and separate that tie from from Andrew Bajoso. But in the pit lane here, Shinya Mashimi is in his box, as well as Rod Clenard coming across the line. Not going to do any better. He's 19th. There's Adam Kreppen, moved up at the end to 16th. Race Liberante has gone to 15th. Carl Modoff, P6, and he won't do anything better. Jake Donald is in the pits. He's been bumped down to 9th as Rowan Gill got faster, along with Elliot Budzinski. Carlos Plaza is done. Bajoso is done. Here we go. The last few coming across the line. There's Rowan Gill. He won't go any faster. P8 still for Gill. A few more. Brendan Baker coming across the line just behind Devin Smith-Harden. Baker jumps to 11th. Nick Johnston just beating him to 10th right now at the edge of the top 10. A huge thank you again here to all of our viewers so far. Again, continue to give those shout-outs. We'll give a few of those here if we have time on the pace lap to your favorite drivers. Adam Rylance is still making one lap here. He might be the final driver to put a lap together as he works his way around the racetrack here at Sebring, but I believe he's slowing, and I think he may just be pulling it into the pits this time. So I don't think we are going to see any major changes here tonight in what we've got at the top of the order. Rylance is working his way around and just kind of cruising. I don't think that'll be fast enough, or if he's going to make it in even before the checkered flag, but we'll see as he works his way down the backstretch. P2, and he's going to pull it off. Yes, sir. So with that in mind, here at Sebring International Raceway, we're going to take a quick commercial break and come right back with the starting lineup and the action for the 5th round of the championship here in the Stars Championship Series Pro Division.
Hi friends, Max Pappas. In this moment where everyone is home, safe, and following the guideline, if it happens that you're having fun with a simulator using an MPI product, I would love for you guys to send us your videos, having fun with it. We're gonna do something special. In the meantime, stay safe, be good, and love to all of you.
At Sebring, and it is time to take you through our starting lineup for the 5th round of the Stars Championship Series Pro Division. Let's begin with our front row. It is Gresham Wagner and Adam Rylance who have made up the top spot, separated by less than a quarter tenth. Moving back to row number 2, it's Andrew Pajoso and Shinya Machimi to make it just 300s for your first 2 rows. To row number 3, it is Elliot Budzinski and Rowan Gill as they work back to 5th and 6th here on the grid. And to row number 4, it is David Holland and Carl Modoff, who just jumped in at the very end. Jake Donald and Nick Johnston are going to make up the final row inside the top 10, just a couple tenths off the pace, as Johnston was able to beat out the inside of row number 6, Brendan Baker, in the number 16 to the inside of Daniel Modolan. Row number 7, starting 13th, is going to be the Charlotte, North Carolina, the number 12. Row 10 is going to be Rod Clenard and Alan Michelle as they will complete the final row here of the top 20. And as we move further back to our final few starters here, we've got a couple extra on the grid tonight. Scott Kennedy in the number 26 will start to the inside of row number 11, 21st for Scott to the inside of Devin Smith-Harden. Austin Osborne and Jason Toft will make up row number 12. Then it'll be Jake Drew and Dan Quinn starting on row 13, 25th, and 26th. 27th on the inside is going to be Bryce of the final sector of the racetrack. This is the S's that lead onto that long back straightaway, that prime passing zone here at Sebring for drivers to try and find a way past. Drew Bajoso and Shinya Machimi were in qualifying. It is going to be phenomenal to see what these guys can do here tonight. So we're going to watch them come around the final corner of the racetrack. Gresham Wagner, Adam Rylance, your front row here. Let's see how we do tonight. And it's looking good, and we are green. Underway as the field goes down the straightaway, down to turn number 1. Gresham Wagner leads the field here as they go down to the first corner of the racetrack. They're going to fan out behind him. Everybody makes it through so far. A couple drivers spun at the back, but overall a clean first lap here for Wagner and company. It is Rylance who has dashed into second, and a mad dash behind him as Elliot Budzinski has thrown it up the inside for third. Andrew Pajoso's fallen back, as has Shinya Machimi. David Holland, I'm trying to find Carl Modoff. Something has happened here to Carl Modoff. He has just been taken out of this one early. Let's go further back a couple cars there. I believe that was Daniel Modolan who was involved. So a number of cars collected here in a very early crash. And there's the 34 of Race Liberante into the wall as well. Working back through the forward part of your field here. The top runners are doing mostly okay. Battle for fourth, I should say. Machimi working on Andrew Pajoso. He's going to get through, and Pajoso runs way wide in that corner. He had to give up a couple spots that time by. So Andrew Pajoso lost a couple of positions that time as we watch the field here come through the mid-sector and now into the back half of the racetrack. It is Gresham Wagner who is leading. And Wagner out onto the back straightaway here. A good run for Wagner. We will get a replay here to show you what just happened to Carl Modoff, but unfortunately for that championship contender, tonight is not starting how he would have liked. It was a rough beginning, but Gresham Wagner leads. It is Adam Rylance all over his tail, and look at the battle behind him. Elliot Budzinski has a hungry pack of cars looking for a way past the number 30. David Holland wants to find a way by. So does Jake Donald here. They are going to look to the outside. Budzinski will defend to the inside here as we work lap number 2. Around the outside, there goes David Holland. What a move on Elliot Budzinski, and he's through. Here comes Jake Donald, aggressive braking down the inside for fourth, and he'll take that spot away. Budzinski back to 5th here as Mashimi now goes to work on the number 30 machine. Valuable time has been lost already, and Budzinski got a great run on Donald. Donald's going to put him on the outside here, coming down this straightaway to the hairpin. Let's see if Shinya Mashimi is going to try to follow his teammate, and if Donald backs him up enough as they go wheel to wheel into the corner. Mashimi stuffs it deep, and he makes contact, and he sends Budzinski around. Elliot Budzinski with a major side-to-side contact as Shinya Mashimi got into him, and now he has gotten back going, I believe possibly with some damage to the right rear of that race car. But the number 30 of Elliot Budzinski is way back. He's behind Andrew Bajoso, who we saw just go off the racetrack. So rough start to the night here for Elliot Budzinski. Moving forward here, Byron Daly is up to 7th. Rowan Gill up to 6th here in the chrome paint behind Brendan Baker, who has also had a phenomenal start, into the 5th position. As Shinya Mashimi, I believe, has dropped back. He wants to give the spot back to Budzinski, and he has. So good on Shinya Mashimi, as we've got problems for a couple others there. I believe working their way through the field. Austin Osborne might have had an issue. We just saw him drop out of the top 15. So let's give you a recap of that in a moment. Let's go back up front first. Gresham Wagner continues to lead here over Adam Rylance. So the top two breaking away from your field here tonight. David Holland is in 3rd. He is close behind the pair. Jake Donald is 4th. Brendan Baker is 5th. Rowan Gill is 6th. Works its way down the backstretch here again. Rod Glenard is first of our lap cars that our leaders have had to deal with, but up front it started to mellow out a little bit. Gresham Wagner trying to hold that gap over Adam Rylance. He's doing a good job of that so far. 0.4 of a second between the pair out in front. And then behind him, David Holland running 3rd, 2.2 seconds back. Let's give you an update here on the lap times as we work lap number 3. Holland last time by a 54.574. Adam Rylance, a 54.683. A 54.42. So he's pulled a 10th to 2/10 on both of these drivers as of last time by. And again, Jake Donald, the next driver in line, as his teammate Shinya Mashimi had to drop back behind Elliot Budzinski due to the contact. And I believe he may have suffered even more damage because Mashimi is not even inside your top 15. Let's go even around the racetrack right now while we've got a little bit of separation out front and try and see if we can catch up with some of our contenders here who have fallen way down the order. First of them that I really want to touch on, Race Liberante here in the 34. He is back going 25th. He is the last driver on the lead lap, I believe, at the moment. So he's working his way down through turn 1. We got some more coming out of the pit lane here. Here's Devin Smith-Harden and Jason Toft. They are trying to get back going. Ryan Rudolph just got into an incident, and that threw us a little further back on the cams. But here's Shinya Mashimi. It looks like the contact forced him into pit lane, potentially, because he has not gotten a lap last time. So Mashimi down in 22nd. This is not good for his championship hopes. Ian Quinn in the 32, 21st. Jake Drew, who has been kind of hunting around the midfield here tonight, he had to start pretty far back in 25th. Up to 20th there. Nick Johnson was involved in an early incident. He is down in the 19th spot. Scott Kennedy, 18th. Will Salisbury, 17th. Alan Michelle. Chad Doss. Pierce Baldus is 14th. So we're going to work our way around the racetrack here. David Kalb. Let's see who else is in the pit lane. Austin Osborne is out. Adam Kreppen is out. And Andrew Bajoso out as well. Let's go back to your leaders here. See what we've got going on up at the front of the field. They've had to work through some lap traffic already. Rowan Gill on the lead lap, though, and he's 5th. Trying to work his way away from Brendan Baker. Just got by him last time by. Now trying to set sail just a little bit as they run together with a comfortable gap back to Byron Daly in the 06 machine, who runs in 7th. So this 3-car train here just running inside the midfield. McDonald then running in the 4th spot at the moment here. He is working his way through the S's, trying to hunt down David Holland for the third position. The top four with about 3.5 seconds between them. And it looks like while Rylance has definitely fallen off Gresham Wagner, he's a second back now from your leader. David Holland and Jake Donald, they're doing a good job hanging in there. And Gresham Wagner, again, he's starting to work his way up to lap traffic for the first time here tonight. So he's got one driver you can barely see within earshot of him. That's Devin Smith-Harden in the 28. And then ahead of Devin here, as we get past these cars here on the pit lane, Race Liberante just working his way out of the first couple corners. So unfortunately for Gresham Wagner, it's not clear sailing as it deservedly should be here out in front. But he's done a good job here so far. He's got 11 laps to go here at Sebring. But Gresham Wagner, a start that has put him a little bit behind the 8-ball in terms of lap traffic compared to other races. On that, a perfect start here to the race, maintaining the gap and not losing the lead off the get-go. Elliot Budzinski has rebounded back to the 8th position. So far a good rebound here for the kid from Michigan. He's running behind that group of three we followed for a moment, Byron Daly, Brendan Baker, and Rowan Gill. But he's got about 4 seconds to 3 seconds to Byron Daly. I don't believe he'll get there instantly, but he might be able to get there if he can work through the lap traffic well. He runs ahead of Carlos Plaza and Tyler Gilboa, and you can see pretty much outside the top 10, everybody beyond the top 10 has at least had some kind of incident here tonight that unfortunately has forced them to go into the pit lane and get some damage repaired because the lap time or the delta from 10th place on back is over 40 seconds. That would be enough to come into the pit lane and get some service, which again, none of these guys would need to do so for tires or fuel regularly. So we've got only a handful so far that have made it through relatively unscathed. And again, as we get a little more of our bearings here tonight, we'll try and see if we can track down some replays of what has gone down for some of our top contenders. Gresham Wagner again leading the way last time by, a 54 flat, and so that was a little bit quicker than Adam Rylance as we work here to David Holland in the 3rd spot and Jake Donald in 4th. Close he has gotten to David Holland. As of last time, was the fastest driver on the racetrack at a 53.74. So Jake Donald hunting for that podium in the number 10, working his way up to David Holland. He is still 3.4 back from Gresham Wagner. Gained a little bit on Adam Rylance as well, but just that start for Elliot Budzinski really spaced out your leaders. He got a phenomenal start to go from the 10th or the 5th row of the grid in 10th place to get into your top 5. But Elliot Budzinski is now down in 8th after he worked his way up, then was battling for 4th with Donald side by side, and Donald's teammate Shinya Mashimi just got in a little bit too hot, locked the brakes, and drove straight into the right rear tire of Budzinski. We did catch that on our stream there, just into the hairpin. As we go back here to this group of 3, Rowan Gill is kind of holding station out in front of the trio. Brendan Baker losing a couple tenths a lap more or less, but he's remained consistent here in the 6th spot. Byron Daly behind him was a little bit faster than Baker last time by, a couple tenths in the 7th position, and he's made a clean start to his night here in the 0-6. And there's Budzinski, 53.93, so he's quick enough. He should be able to close the gap to these guys here, especially if they battle before this race is over. A couple tenths a lap here or there, and he might be able to run down Daly and possibly even Baker, but still a little ways to go here for Budzinski, as I believe we've had an issue here for Gresham Wagner. He must have made a little bobble that time getting through some lap traffic or something. He just gave up quite a few tenths to Adam Rylance and company. So now David Holland is back to 2.1 back. Jake Donald is a second up. And again, Rylance is close. So Gresham Wagner, who had that mistake at the start of Road America for round number 4, where he dropped the tire and spun on the opening lap starting in the midfield, now possibly a little mistake, maybe the nerves getting to him or something. But a little bobble there here in the F3 car, and you could very easily go around and into the tires, as many of these drivers already experienced here tonight. Wagner leading here. He'll pull that gap back to 7 tenths as they work down this straightaway towards the hairpin. Still trailing Devin Smith-Harden, who has not gone a lap down just yet, as he's maintain some good pace with the damage. Actually, this is a different driver, it looks like, possibly in front of them. This is Chad Doss, who is going to play nice and move off the racetrack. He's currently 20th, started 33rd on the grid. Back to this battle here for third. Jake Donald has held at about 3 car lengths back from David Holland, but he hasn't been able to get away by just yet. This is, I believe, the closest battle we've got at the moment on the racetrack, as you can see based off the delta on the left-hand side of your screen here. So Jake Donald in the Ronin Sim Sport number 10 entry. A good job here tonight to avoid the carnage. He nearly got collected in that incident with his teammate and Budzinski, and I think his teammate just tried to take out only 1 car instead of 2. So a clean start, methodical, didn't make any mistakes, and didn't really get bobbled up too much when he lost some spots off the drop of the green flag. He'll work his way down the backstretch. Now we've got a driver off in the fence. Who's that? That's Race Liberante again. The Delta Sport driver has pile drive the concrete barrier here coming out onto the straightaway, and he is trying to muscle that thing into the pit lane. Just a night that has gone from bad to worse for the number 34. Man, just a rough night here for the guy who resides in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So not the night Race Liberante was wanting here as Byron Daly works his way around the final turn. We'll go back forward as it's now down to 2/10 here for Jake Donald and David Holland. We might see a potential change for third here if he can get a good run through the opening couple corners and launch something into that hairpin. He's 2 car lengths back going into turn number 2. Here for Jake Donald. Unfortunately, it was a better one for David Holland ahead of him. So Holland is holding that gap back to Donald. Adam Rylance, again, is just kind of riding right now in second. He is hoping for a mistake out of Gresham Wagner. This is a track where you can very easily drop a wheel. You get all the way up and down the gearbox here, and there's a lot of hard braking zones because of it. So it's very easy to make a mistake. It's not as flowing as maybe Watkins Glen might be. There's a lot of stop and go sections as we see them go through 1 right now. They have to get down to 3rd gear at least in that corner, pop back up to 5th or 6th, then we'll go back down to 4th here, and then when we get to the final turn of the racetrack, that is a 2nd or 3rd gear corner from 6th gear and maxing out the RPM. So some long braking zones typically makes for some good passing opportunities, and we saw a great Junior Stars race here this week for round number 3 of the junior division. I believe they may have actually been a little bit cleaner than our pros have been here so far tonight, with as many of them getting taken out in the opening few laps. As David Holland, there's a little mistake, dropped a wheel, maybe just kind of put the power down and got sideways. Here comes Jake Donald. He's got the toe, half a car back to the inside. Jake Donald is looking for 3rd, and he's going to get it. David Holland concedes that spot there nicely, and he will give it to the number 10. So move Jake Donald up to P3, and again, he is looking mighty fine right now in the championship with contender Carl Modoff out early with an incident, and Gresham Wagner's bad run at Road America. I believe a good run here, potentially a podium, could put Donald back in the driver's seat when we go to the finale here a week from today. Adam Rylance as he works his way over towards the hairpin. We've got what's been a pretty solid season here for the kid from New York. Adam Rylance, P2 right now. He had a podium run in the works at Road America, potentially a battle for the win with Shinya Mishimi before getting into contact with Donald that bumped him outside the top 10 due to penalties. Beyond that, though, he had a top 5 finish at Watkins Glen for the 2nd round of the championship. Missed a little bit at Road Atlanta, I should say, and then he just was decent. But again, it was a very strong field to kick off the championship at Sonoma. So he's been kind of quiet, hasn't made a whole lot of noise up until last week. And then here we go, backing it up after his pole award at Road America. He finds himself on the front row at Sebring, and he has remained up there here running P2 level times to Gresham Wagner at the moment and holding that 1.3 second gap back now to Jacob Donald, who runs P2. We've got a battle forming as well here beyond your leaders, and that is for the 6th spot. Brendan Baker is starting to come under some pressure from Byron Daly. Daly has now gotten into the slipstream of Baker's number 16 crosslink competition entry. These guys separated by about half a second at the moment, and they'll work their way down the back straightaway. it has been a good night here for both of these guys, looking for potentially their best result on the season, as Baker has had some definite bad luck. Daly joined about midway through the championship and has had some good runs, had some good speed. He's only been getting better as we go on each round and each track, and so a good run here tonight, a top 10 in the works here for Byron Daly, all the way up to potentially a top 5, but he'd have to pick up the pace a little bit to run down Rowan Gill in the 7.74. And again, also these guys got to worry, only 1.7 seconds back from Byron Daly now is Elliot Budzinski, and he's running lap times that are just about half a second quicker than these guys. In fact, he just set his fastest lap of the race. So the kid from Michigan hunting his way back towards your leaders as he started 5th here tonight, worked his way quickly up to 3rd with a great start and a dive bomb down the inside in turn number 2. And again, Budzinski was on the pole for a little bit in qualifying before getting bumped back. It's just unfortunate with the way that the wrecks fell and race control opted to stay green that it just did not fall in his favor. So he is running 8th. He has a shot here to get 7th, 6th, and potentially 5th, but at more than 10 seconds back from your leaders, truthfully more than 11 back from Gresham Wagner. He will have to suffer for nothing but potentially a top 5, maybe at 5th, Rowan Gill. But again, that's going to need a lot of help here. We're working to 5 laps to go this time by, and he's got 3 drivers pretty spaced out in front of him he's going to need to catch. And then, of course, ahead of them, we've got David Holland here in 4th, who has fallen a little further back from Jake Donald. Donald is now going to get a little more help here from Adam Rylance. Rylance has fallen to 1.3 seconds back from Gresham Wagner. Every point matters in this championship here. Wagner has not gotten anything higher than a second so far this season. Was close at Road Atlanta to Donald when Donald scored his 2nd win on the championship, but just couldn't pull it off. And now here tonight at Sebring, Gresham Wagner is leading, and he has led from the pole, 1.1 seconds back to Adam Rylance. Say enough about the lap times he's put together. Last time by was 0.2 off his best. Unfortunately, though, a 53.92 is not going to be enough really to outrun Jake Donald, who is just on an absolute tear. He had a 53.58, so he was 0.4 faster than your leader last time. That would be enough if he gains 4 to 5 tenths every lap to catch him, but he would have to be absolutely perfect and get by Adam Rylance with no resistance, which I don't know whether or not he'll see. It doesn't look like he's gaining as much this lap, but time will tell when they get onto that long back straightaway here. This group of 4 that have been together all race long. Byron Daly has slipped back a little bit from Brendan Baker. He is now starting to fall into the clutches of Elliot Budzinski. We're going to monitor that shortly here, but for now, I want to keep the focus up on our leaders because anything could happen here with how close our top 4 are. Gresham Wagner definitely trying to put the power down this lap, though. A 53.9 last time. He knew that he could get caught with that level of pace. It looks like he's picked it up here. You can see a pack of 4, and then that pack of 4 behind him, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, led by Rowan Gill. Here comes Wagner. He'll work his way out of the final turn. 4 to go this time by. A little bit of lap traffic at the top half of your screen. But what a job here so far for the 555. He'll go under the Chevrolet bridge. 53.97 was the time before. I don't know if that was the time last time by. It looks like it was. So it was another lap where he lost some time, and I'm guessing it must have come on the back straightaway because up until that point he was pulling away, but the gaps now are down a couple tenths here. So Gresham Wagner might be playing it a little bit easy in that final corner. He definitely was not pushing to the absolute limit of the wall, so he's been close, but he's going to need to manage that gap well here with 4 to go, because if they can get within 7 or 8 tenths and Wagner makes a mistake, they're going to get a huge speed boost to close to his rear wing and then potentially make a aggressive move here in the closing laps. 1.2 seconds back to Adam Rylance, 1.6 to Jake Donald, 0.4 of a second here. This battle for P2 is going to come down to the wire, and again, Jake Donald He was looking for a very good championship run after a dismal Watkins Glen with a crash at Road America last week. Would you think there'd be any hurt feelings here between Donald and Rylance based off how things went down, or will we see some clean, no elbows up or to the side action? It might just be a little exchange between the two of them. So who knows what we'll see, but we are going to see something. Donald, 3 car lengths back from Adam Rylance as they come down the back straightaway. Once again, it is 3 laps to go at the stripe. Donald has been the fastest driver on the racetrack the last 3 or 4 laps here, quicker than everybody so far, and he's got a good run again here to Rylance. He'll try to get out of the aero wash, try to get a good run maybe down to turn 1 or 2, but I think he's going to push out a little wide here, right to the edge of the grass. You can see for the number 10, it's just not enough here to mount a charge to turn number 1, but look at that, 53.430 for Jake Donald. And Gresham Wagner's gap, I don't know what happens there in the final corner. He just seems to be taking it easy. But now down to 1.2 seconds back here for Donald. Now he's got to, again, make quick work of Adam Rylance if Jake Donald wants any chance at trying to battle with Gresham Wagner for the lead and the win. And Wagner so strong coming out of turn number 3 onto this hairpin here. He's been very good in the technical sections of this racetrack. There is so much time to be gained here in this hairpin alone, and Wagner with a good launch will pull that gap up just a little bit over Donald, although Rylance holds it even that time. 1.1 seconds to Gresham Wagner here. We'll watch the field go into this quick right, and then double left-hander, and then again another hard-braking right-hand corner that really is not the best to pass into, although Jake Donald just peeks his nose there down the inside on Rylance. He was a little too far back to challenge, but he's trying to get as much clean air on the front wing of his car as he can. The more he does, the less of an understeer he will feel. As you look at, again, how close the number 10 is. He knows it's go time. He's got to get this good run here, this good exit out of the S's. A car length back, tries to downshift, get that launch out onto the curb, but he gets a little bit too close as they work by the lap traffic. Who we got here onto the inside? That's Austin Osborne. Into 21. He has had a really rough night here, down in 27th for Austin Osborne. Too far back for anything into the final corner. He's got to get a good exit here. He's got to get that launch to try and challenge. 2 to go here this time, and he runs it a little wide, has to tuck it back in. Adam Rylance holds on to P2. And for the very first time here, Gresham Wagner is really putting the hammer down. 53.69. He sets his fastest lap of the race. And he holds the gap at 1 second back to Rylance and Donald. So everybody pushing for every last inch they can get onto the limit here in the Stars Championship Series Pro Division. 3 drivers at the end of 15 laps. And it looks like we're going to have all 3 of them within a second and a half. David Holland in the catbird seat for anything to happen here for these top guys. Let's go back here for a moment. We'll find our 5th place driver, Rowan Gill. What a job tonight he has done here. Weston Workman was the first junior driver to make the field since round 1 with John Antonino, and both of them had some bad luck having to start deep in the field, getting tangled up in some incidents. But Rowan Gill qualified inside the top 10, a 6th place qualifying run. And we've got a pass here for 3rd or 2nd. Jake Donald down the inside, and he's through. Jake Donald moving into 2nd on Adam Rylance. Just caught him by surprise there in the infield. So Jake Donald is up to 2nd here. Rylance has to deal with that aero wash. He's going to have to struggle and will lose a little bit of ground, potentially giving some draft now to David Holland, who is only 0.8 back. As Donald is 1.4 back from Wagner, that is a big gap to close up, but any mistake out of the 555 entry, and he'll have a shot to try and run him down. White flag in the air this time by. Stalked his prey for 3 or 4 laps there, found the weakness, and was able to capitalize. A good run here for the Ronin Simsport entry from 9th to 2nd so far. Rylance is 3rd, Holland is 4th. Austin Osborne there, the lap traffic. There's Rowan Gill in 5th. Here's Brendan Baker making a last dash charge up to the top 5. He has closed up to Gill, one of the youngest drivers here, going against a veteran senior karting driver. And look at the run Baker's got, half a car length back, right behind the rear wing. Gill is going to go on the defensive, but he leaves the door open, and he moves up. He has to give it to him. Brendan Baker to the inside for 5th. and he's through. Brendan Baker on the final lap in the number 16, and he's going to defend down to the inside in turn number 2 on Gill, trying to back him up to Elliot Budzinski, who has worked his way past Rowan Gill. Budzinski would love to crack the top 5 here, and now he's got a shot as they're starting to battle just ahead of him. Let's go back up front to your leaders now. Again, it is still Adam Rylance, Jake Donald in second, and they're having to get through the lap traffic of Pierce Baldus. Gresham Wagner got through him cleanly. Baldus right now, he's going to pull over. Nice move there for the 76. Pierce Baldus will give way to the leaders as they all file on by. So your top 4 here, 2.2 seconds separating them. Adam Rylance has slipped back from Jake Donald. Nothing Rylance can do, but nothing Donald can do at the moment. He's clicked off half a second off the gap to Gresham Wagner, who has led all 14 laps here so far as they work their way into the final 2 sectors of the racetrack. What a drive it has been here for the Global MX-5 Cup Series driver. Gresham Wagner in the 555 entry heads down the back straightaway for the very final time. Again, he goes from being out and not even making it 2 corners at Road America to coming up 1 spot short at Road Atlanta for round number 3. And here at Sebring International Raceway, Gresham Wagner is looking to become a hero into the final turn and out of it onto the front straightaway. From Virginia, Gresham Wagner wins round number 5 of the Stars Championship Pro Series at Sebring. Jake Donald is second, Adam Rylance third, David Holland fourth, at the line for 5th. It's going to be a tight one. Brendan Baker, Elliot Budzinski at the line, edges Rowan Gill with a final corner move, and Byron Daly ends in 8th. We go back here, coming across in 9th. It'll be Carlos Plaza, who has kept his nose clean. Best result of the season for the number 19. Rod Clenard there, 19th. Devin Smith. Here's Tyler Gilboa. And a top 10 run from 28th on the grid, avoiding the carnage. The number 13 of Tyler Gilboa will bring it around here, and that is going to put him into the top 10 for the very first time this season, and he completes it with a 10th place run. So that does it here for the on-track action tonight. We're going to get a look at our top 3 finishers, though, as they pop into the Discord. What a race here. We've got a lot of replays to digest as well. It's just been all over the place. But man, Gresham Wagner, what a job here tonight. 15 laps. He leads them all. He puts on the afterburners when he needs to. And then at the very end there, you can see him controlling the gap back to Jake Donald. Back the pace down. Just made the lap he needed to and held on to the win. And again, to Jake Donald here, you got a good start. He started all the way in 9th. 5th row of the grid. It was my mistake. Budzinski actually started in the 5th spot on row 3. But Donald started pretty deep. Climbed his way forward again from P9, was up to P4 pretty quickly, got around Budzinski for 4th, and then worked his way by Holland for 3rd, and then up to Adam Rylance there with a very good and clean battle after last week. I'm sure Jake Donald, a P2, is a breath of fresh air. And finally, some good championship points here for himself and Gresham Wagner after that 1-2 finish they pulled off at Road Atlanta. Adam Rylance, again, redemption, his first podium of the season. The Burrell Art driver was robbed of it last week due to the penalty for the incident with Jake Donald, and arguably was in contention for the win there. So as for Adam Rylance, I'm sure he'll be happy with that P3. Might have liked the P2, but he just couldn't hold on there at the very end. And these 2 drivers, again, making their way around. They've done a phenomenal job here tonight, putting on a show for the fans at home. I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in so far. We're going to dial up our top 3 and give you an idea and a rundown of the action here tonight at Sebring. Again, this has just been absolutely phenomenal stuff here tonight. So let's take a look at what we've got here with our results. Starting again with our top finishers. Again, it was such a good night for Gresham Wagner. He was just able to really manage that race well. Kept the gap. Made one mistake, it looked like a little bit early on, that kind of brought the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place drivers close to him again, but ends up holding on there for the win. Jake Donald ending 2nd from 9th on the grid, pulls up forward. Adam Rylance, David Holland, and Brendan Baker at the very end. The Texas driver makes it 2 Texans inside the top 5, getting by Rowan Gill, who slips back to 7th. But man, what your driver, man, he is now setting the bar pretty high. Stars winner next week that'll join us for the season finale of the Pro Series. A 7th place run for Rowan Gill, running as high as 5th here working his way through the action. Byron Daly, Carlos Plaza, Tyler Gilboa again rounding out your top 10. And then we get back to some of the drivers who had some pretty rough nights here tonight. Corey Hyatt and Nick Johnston, 11th and 12th. Johnston, I believe, was the first of the drivers that had to hit the reset in the pit lane and get a fresh race car. Andrew Bajoso behind him as well. Shinya Mashimi had some damage, had to pull in. And again, it was just a rough night for the 69. He was as high as inside the top 5. And again, Mashimi down to 15th there. Still a decent run to salvage, but I'm sure he would have liked a little bit better with the pace he had. Tyler Krennic, Ian Quinn, Pierce Baldus, Rod Clenard, and Devin Smith-Harden, your top 20. Then we go further back, Chad Doss, David Kalb Jr., Bryce Stevens, and we get into some of the other drivers here. Unfortunately, didn't finish. Jake Drew and Austin Osborne with some rough nights tonight. 2 top-tier karting series drivers who, again, just have not seemed to have been able to get that right 4-leaf clover with them here this season. They end with 26th and 27th position finishes here in Florida. Alan Michelle, Will Salisbury, Race Liberante, the top 30, and then a few more here who got taken out at the start. Ryan Rudolph, Adam Kreppen, and Daniel Modelon, the Brazilian, with a rough ending to the evening here. But let's take a moment, see if we can't dial up our top 3 finishers here from the night.
Yeah, I was I was nervous at the beginning because you were like,
Talking here as we've got into our Discord channel, we've got our top 2 first and third place finishers here. We're waiting on Jake Donald to join us in the booth in just a moment. Beginning with our winner here, Gresham Wagner. Gresham, man, what a night here tonight, and what a turnaround from last week here to go from 0 to hero pretty quickly. And then you led all 15 laps, managed the gap really well there at the end. Looked like you might have had a little bobble, but beyond that, just a perfect race.
yeah, the beginning of the race went perfect. I got away clean. The rest of them went single file behind me, and the front group kind of got a nice little, I guess, breakaway there. And I was slowly inching out my lead. I think I got Adam on the edge of the draft there, which was nice because I definitely was trying to break that for the first few laps. And then, yeah, I just caught a curb wrong, upset the car pretty bad, and basically had to reset halfway through because gaps closed back up about a second and a half or so. And then from then, it was just keeping the pace up without making another mistake because I didn't have any margin for error with the guys right behind me. So it's definitely a nerve-wracking race there the last 5 or so laps.
It looked like it. They kept you honest there, especially Jake Donald, who's now going to be joining us here in the booth in a couple moments. He was the fastest driver on the racetrack, clicking off 53 4s and 5s almost consistently for those final couple laps, Gresham. I'm sure you were managing the gap, looking at your relative as well. You know, how nerve-wracking really was it to not make that mistake? Did it feel even higher pressure in those last few laps as you saw that win getting closer and those guys inching a little bit closer as well?
I think the last lap or two were actually the easiest out of the last 5 or 6, just because when there were a few more laps left, I wasn't sure how fast he was going to close and if he was going to get around Adam quickly and be right on me. And by the time we got with 2 to go, I think he was around 1.3, 1.4 seconds back. So I knew if I just didn't make a mistake, he was a few tenths a lap faster, but I just needed to hold on those last 2 laps.
Well, either way, buddy, it was an awesome run here tonight. So congratulations, your first win of the season. This goes along with, I believe, you're either your 3rd or 4th top 5 and second podium. So a heck of a run here that should put you pretty good in the points, with last week being a drop going into round 6 next week.
Yeah, thank you.
Moving on now to our second place finisher here tonight, Jake Donald. Jake, you, like I mentioned, were the fastest driver on the racetrack by a couple tenths, especially in the second half here. This one, you were able to work your way up from 9th on the grid, then had to work through some traffic, ended up about 3.5 seconds back to start once the whole first couple laps shook out, and then just kind of kept your head down, chipped away, and then eventually got by Adam there at the end. Talk to us about your race.
Yeah, not too bad of a race. One of these weeks I'll stop messing up qualifying, but yeah, I'd start 9th and then just put my head down for pretty much the rest. Tried to stay out of trouble. I don't have a drop week left, so just honestly just try not to wreck. And then the car had good pace, so just kept clicking them off. Barely couldn't get Gresham, but it was still a good race.
Yeah, definitely a good one. It was unfortunate. We were expecting to see you and Adam Rylance here in the booth with us last week as well with your good podium fight, but no hard feelings there between the two of you. It looked like you guys raced pretty clean here this week, battling for second.
No, yeah, all good.
It was a heck of a run there to get all the way up from ninth on the grid and even really a couple seconds back to work your way to second. As you mentioned, it was keeping Gresham Wagner pretty honest there those last couple laps, and he even mentioned it was pretty nerve-wracking. So a heck of a run there, Jake. Congratulations.
Yep, thanks, man.
Finally, to our third place finisher here, Adam Rylance. Adam, it looked like it was meant to be last week to see you, maybe not even just with a podium, but potentially a win as you were trading with the lead, qualified on the pole. This week, you qualify on the off pole, end up running second for most of the race, just get nipped at the end for third. But talk to us about your run and also your progression. You've just kind of chipped away at the leaders as the season's gone on.
Yeah, so I was happy to make a good comeback this week after last week. Obviously, last week I was really angry with myself after what happened, and messaged Jake right after the race to apologize. But unfortunately, it's just one of those things that happens in racing, I suppose. But yeah, I was glad to have a good qualifying. Tried my best to keep up with Gresham in the first few laps. Gap got up to about 1.2, 1.3, and stayed there for the majority of the race, although closed back down a bit once Gresham made his small error. And then, of course, in the closing stages of the race, I had Jake closing in. And last couple of laps, I could see he was getting close enough to pass, and I wasn't going to just give it to him. But I knew if I fought him too hard, then we'd have David right on top of us as well, because he was only 1.6, 1.7 back. And I figured it would be a more smart option just to try and keep him out of it if possible. So yeah, I'm glad to get my first podium of the season, even though would have been second if the race had ended a couple of laps earlier. But yeah, throughout the season, I started off doing the Mid-Ohio non-points race a month or so ago and went fairly well, and then started with the one at Watkins Glen and finished fifth. And since then, just been testing, getting seat time, practicing, and doing whatever I can to catch up to the lead pack, and now I finally seem to be there. So yeah, pretty happy.
Yeah, it was definitely a good run. Even with the way the drops work, I think you still got an outside shot at cracking into the top five in the points, which will get you some pretty cool prizes next week. We've got a whole lot of partners that have come together here for this NKA STARS Championship Series presented by VRD. So a huge thank you to all them. Of course, cool stuff for you guys as the drivers. But Adam, a great run tonight. As you mentioned, if the checkered flag flew a couple laps earlier, it would have been P2, but a P3, nothing to hold your head about. It was a fantastic run, and I'm sure a good bit of confidence going into next week.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to next week, and every week I seem to be getting slightly quicker week by week. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what next week brings.
All right, with that, buddy, congratulations again here, and thank you.
Thank you.
And again, with that, our top three here have concluded. We want to thank all of you guys for tuning in to the STARS Championship Series Pro Division. The fifth round of the championship is complete. We'll calculate the points, give you updates on that, and it is time in 1 week to crown a champion, not just on Friday night, but on Wednesday with our Junior Series as well. So make sure to tune in live, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, Facebook, and now YouTube for your NKA STARS Championship Series presented by VRD Action. For Xander Clements, myself here, and everyone on the NKA and STARS Championship team, thank you for tuning in, and good night.